Welcome to Native America Calling. From Studio 49 in Albuquerque, I'm Monica Brain. Every year, the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development recognizes 40 Native individuals who are in the prime of their professional careers with the 40 Under 40 Award. These are movers, shakers, tribal leaders, educators, storytellers, entrepreneurs, healers, and creators. We'll talk with a few awardees about the good work that they're doing in their Native communities. And let's bring another one into the conversation. Joining us from El Paso, Texas, is Jacob Schellinger. He is an attorney in the Tribal Affairs Group at Lewis Rocha Rothgerber Christie, and he's a member of the Stockbridge Munsee community. Welcome to Native America Calling, Jacob.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the line. So, were you excited to hear that you were one of the 40 Under 40?
Yeah, I was definitely excited. I was, working on something pretty diligently, and all of a sudden I started receiving a couple text messages and was pretty surprised. It was a great honor, and it was one of those things where you're maybe not expecting it at the moment, but it's pleasant to hear, and really honored to be a part of a group of such talented people.
No, it's always nice to be recognized for your work. We don't do the work to be recognized, but it's nice when somebody gives you, an attaboy. Jacob, what inspired you to go into Indian law?
I'm originally from the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area, and I've grown up in the urban area my entire life and been an urban Indian. But growing up, I watched my mom and my aunts be very active in the Indian community in Milwaukee. And seeing their commitment was very much an inspiration for me, kind of the level of commitment and knowing that there's an obligation to give back. And then in addition to that, there was a lot of hard work and sacrifice by my grandparents, my parents, and my aunts and uncles that, paved the way for me to have the opportunities that I've had. And so because of that, being an attorney who practices Indian law is a way for me to contribute to my community, sort of by serving the broader Indian community. And so I take that to heart with me every single day. I consider myself to be an Indian country advocate, and of course, an advocate for our clients. But it's a very personal thing, and it comes from a sense of obligation, and also just witnessing the hard work of my family.
It's a pretty specific area to focus on. Where did you go to law school, and what kind of was there an ability for you to really hone in on Indian law at law school?
So I went to ASU and I participated in the Indian legal program there. And as a result of that, there was plenty of course offerings to really get you steeped in Indian law and policy. And I think one of the things that's really unique about Indian law is it touches on absolutely everything. The body of federal Indian law is really about the relationship between tribes and the federal government, as well as tribes and the states. And as a result of that, just about anything you can think of has an Indian law twist to it. And so it can be, as simple as, a personal injury case, or something as complicated as putting together a major development project. Doing business or activity in Indian country has, different implications than other places throughout the United States. And so, ASU is a really good program to provide a strong base knowledge in that, and really help me to sort of find my voice as an advocate, and also help me to kind of discover that economic development is an area that I've wanted to focus on and been lucky enough to focus on since being in law school. I've had the opportunity to work on the national side of things, and then now in private practice. And throughout that, one of the things that's really driven me, and one of the things that I think is really important as an Indian law attorney, or as a tribal attorney, is making sure that tribes have the opportunities to develop strong economies, because ultimately that builds also stronger governance and allows tribes to make decisions without really having to worry as much about sort of external factors. And so there are a lot of great programs out there that are focused on Indian law and policy, and there's a variety of good schools. I feel very lucky to be an alum of ASU's Indian legal program, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that tribes are really learning these days is how to build an economy that's not too dependent on other things. And, on Wednesday, we're going to talk about gaming and, how casinos are doing during this pandemic. What would you say is like the most important thing that you emphasize to tribes about how to build the best economies for themselves that, you know, I realize that we can't be completely independent from the rest of the US or the outside world, but um, how do you build that independence?
But I think it always starts with finding solutions that work for an individual community. I think there's no one size fits all box, certainly for different tribes across the United States, and so it takes looking at your citizenship and your location and your interests, and kind of building out from there. I think even in some of my previous work that's sort of outside of the advising individual clients. One of the things that we often focus on the federal level is just making sure that, when legislation is being considered or when there's programs being considered, one, making sure that, tribes have access to those programs or funding, but also making sure that things are tailored so that individual communities can take advantage of them. And so the same thing holds true in both circumstances. Solutions have to be, community focused. And so, in having that conversation, it's really, getting to know, the leadership that you're working with, and also the community that you're working for, and making sure that the solutions are focused in a way that's tailored to the individual circumstance of the community.
What advice would you give to Native law students who are just starting out right now?
So, one, law school is really challenging, but it's really, really rewarding. And so, one, I would, congratulate them for choosing that path. I think it's a really great way to be an advocate for your community and for tribes nationally. Certainly, so the first point is, have a plan, but also I think it's also really important to be flexible. Plans change over time. Doors will open and close, and that's totally okay. I think the key is to really keep pushing forward with a goal in mind. For me, it's been working on economic development issues as an attorney and advocate for tribes. And of course, there's been, things change over time, and you end up with different opportunities, and you get an opportunity to pursue those. I think another thing that I would say is be willing to be uncomfortable. Some of the biggest opportunities for growth are the things that may seem uncomfortable. I mean, it could be anything from a new job, a public speaking opportunity, a volunteer opportunity, or really anything. It's those moments where you take yourself kind of outside of your comfort zone, that you're really stretching yourself, and you're making yourself into, in my case, or in the case of a young attorney, a better advocate. And then finally, I think one thing that's really, really important, especially for law students, is that there's no one right way. It's really important to approach your schoolwork and your work in a way that works for you. And, that really certainly includes, looking to others to see sort of the path that they've blazed. But at the same time, realizing that, we all have our own strengths and weaknesses, our own characteristics. And so ultimately, choosing the way that works for you to, accomplish whatever it is you set out to do is a really important thing for law students. And I think that may be actually the most important thing.
Oh, that sounds like great advice, Jacob. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Jacob is a 40 under 40 recipient, and it's good to chat with you.
Thank you very much for having me on. It's been great.